Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Cheese and Green Arrows. This is our weekly FPL special. This is Yusuf. I am filling in for our regular co-host Mustafa, and as always, we cannot not have him. We have Mr. Tariq Redi, our esteemed FPL expert. How you doing, bro?
I'm good. Thank you. Thank you so much.
So it was an interesting week. In the past week, briefly. There was Newcastle and Aston Villa was called off, so that may have wrecked some people's plans who had Grealish and Wilson. And apart from that, it was a pretty not too many surprises, but I think you got a lot of your predictions bang on. So let's just talk about how it went last week briefly before we get into next week.
Sure. So basically, last week we got the blank because of the COVID game. I think it was Newcastle versus Aston Villa,
Exactly.
and so a lot of people had to do a lot of hits. I did minus 12, which is the most. It's like the record most that I always do, minus 12.
I can beat you.
Actually, no, sorry, that was the week before I did minus 12. But
Oh.
yeah. But it's the most I've done. But I did it in preparation for this game week, so it's kind of similar. What did you do?
Yo, I did minus 20, bro, this week. I
So
broke all the rules of FPL. I was like, patience, patience, patience. And then I'm like, no, what's going on? What's like the play? So it's like we needed the holy trinity of KDB, Salah, and Bruno. So I'm like, forget it. And then I brought in Jota as well. Like I pretty much went pretty wild on the hits.
honestly, I'm not really against hits. It's I actually do this mathematical thing when it comes to hits.
Yeah,
I I I replace the players. Like for example, if I'm doing 4 transfers, the
yeah.
4 people I bring on, I put on like a projected prediction of each of their points. I
Yeah.
add that up, and then I subtract from it the hits. For example, it's minus 20. I subtract 20 from it, and then I add the projected points of the
Mm-hmm.
players that I removed.
Ah, okay.
And so then, if there's a positive, like +2, +3, I don't do it because it's not worth it. But if it's like a positive, like +6, +7, I go for the hits.
So this
If
so this week I didn't do well. I wasn't as calculated as you, but I had a feeling that the Trinity would do well, and they did. But my biggest not mistake, but the boo boo that I made was I didn't make De Bruyne captain. If I had made De Bruyne captain, it would have been worth it. But
I
unfortunately, I
mean,
did not. I kept with Bruno.
okay, I mean Bruno did not bad, wasn't bad. He still got a lot of points. He got 6 points, I think. It's not bad,
Yeah, he got six.
but
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. So it's really important that whenever you do hits for like the big players, the players that are like you're gonna play Fulham at home. Like you got KDB, which is very smart, and it's like a high chance that he's gonna score or get an
Hmm.
assist. So yeah, I did the same thing the week before that. I brought in Salah, Jota. Uh, who else was it? Sure.
Did you bring in Bowen, or he was been there from before?
No, I was actually gonna remove Bowen, but I kept him by luck, and he's doing well for me.
Nice.
So I brought in Salah, Jota, Bamford, and Justin. So Justin and Bamford didn't do much for me that week, but Salah and Jota made up for the point hits by getting an assist and a goal.
Yeah.
And then the week after that, so by getting Bamford and Justin, Bamford actually got me that goal at Chelsea, right? And
Yep.
Salah, the captaincy, with goal and assist. So the hits work, but you just have to calculate it. That's all there is to it.
You
If you want, after this, we can post on Instagram like the calculation I do, just so you guys have.
That would be
It's very
awesome. Yeah,
simple.
give our viewers a little taste of how it's like behind the curtain, you know? Nice. How the
It's just a
magic
very
sauce is made.
simple. It's just a very simple calculation of hits and projected points. And I think everyone should do it before they do any transfer.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah, it makes complete sense because like I think while there is luck definitely in playing FPL, there's also some sort of statistics or mathematical calculations that can help you maximize your chances, right? Of course, you know, if you captain, I don't know, Son and he scores 4 goals, that's luck. You can't predict that, right? But there's a certain element of calculation, which I think is smart. And then
Exactly.
not a lot of people do that, right? And then you have to think it's
This
like a
is
lot of
gonna
math
sound,
actually, like probabilities, like which
yeah,
four midfielders versus three attackers, or like do you put three defenders? Like some people play with four defenders, right? Because they think
yeah,
that
yeah,
they're high scoring defenders. So it's all relative, right? So
definitely. This is gonna sound quite nerdy, but
mm.
I don't know if you guys watch a show called The Queen's Gambit.
I've heard about it. It's a new show on Netflix, right?
Everyone watching it now or watched it. It's about
Yeah.
chess, and I,
Okay.
I, I was always into chess. And then when I watched the show, like it got me into it more. And it's like everyone who watches the show is playing chess right now. But the reason why I brought this up is because it reminds me a lot
Mm.
of
Yeah.
fantasy Premier League. And the reason why is because in chess, the most important part. I'm speaking as a chess amateur, but from what
Yeah.
I know, one of the most important part is the opening when you play chess. So depending on your opening and your defense, the opponent's opening,
Hmm.
you dictate the game. So like the first 4 or 5 moves is crucial in chess. So
Okay. I
what I
didn't know
see
that.
with
Interesting.
yeah, so in terms of fantasy, you always have to set up your team as if it's like a chess match, so the beginning, or like the beginning of a wild card, or the beginning of the game, or it's relative what the beginning is. But what I mean is that you have players. For example, here I have Son and King. They have high value. So if Salah and say Aguero all of a sudden are doing well, I can do a straight swap for these two. But imagine
Yeah.
you had a team where, yeah, and let me just continue on that. With the defense over here, these guys are all, these guys 4.4 million, 4.5, 4 million, 4 million. They're all
Basic.
really cheap, but they play. So I spend money on players. I put a lot of the value on players. So if I had to swap, say Son has like a hard game and Salah has an easy one, I do a straight swap.
Yeah. It's
And
easier to straight swap instead of having to do multiple, like 2, 3 changes to fit
that
someone in.
So like the reason why it's similar to chess is because you put your pieces in particular positions so that you have different ways to attack if something happens.
Mm. Mm.
So in fantasy football, it's always important that you place your value on each player based off of the flexibility of a transfer. So Son, who's expensive, and he has a bad game week, you can replace him straight away instead of doing 2 transfers and getting a hit. So yeah, that's just
No,
a
that's
little.
awesome information. That's why you're the expert, bro. That's why you are our resident expert on FPL,
No,
because
it
not a
just
lot of
sounds.
people think like this, right? Because a lot of people are playing. I've noticed in the last maybe 2, 3 seasons, more and more people who I know are playing it, but not a lot of people play it with the, I guess, the analytical and the logical mind, right? They're just like, yeah, I like this player, I'll put him in. They know a little bit, they have some instincts, but honestly, if you master the understanding and the mathematics, you can be, it's like, it's very easy to become maybe even top 200 in the world, for example. It's
I
not
mean,
easy, but you can.
last
It's achievable.
last season, the guy, Magnus Carlsen,
No, I don't actually.
so he's like the number one chess player in the world. He's like a
Okay.
30-year-old Swedish guy.
Okay.
He's really cool. If you watch his videos and stuff, he's really funny guy.
Yeah.
Anyways, he played fantasy football last season and he came eighth in the world, eighth.
What?
And yeah, so he uses chess tactics kind of to
Mm-hmm.
kind of play fantasy football, and he took risks at certain spots, and he was patient at certain times.
Mm.
So he like the thing with chess is that it helps you make decisions, whether it's in fantasy football or in life, and it makes you make decisions that are how do you say like sensible decisions. So like,
Right.
you wouldn't just bring on Aguero next week because you're like, you know what, I had a dream, Aguero did well, or what Guardiola said that Aguero is going to start. You have to have like a bunch of reasons why you do a certain move. So
Right.
play chess and you're gonna.
So pro tip for this week is to one, watch the Queen's Gambit, and that from that you might learn about chess, which actually it's a very interesting sport because my grandfather used to play a lot of chess as well. So I've always been like interested in the sense that like I've known about chess, and and even poker. Like those are two games where there's a lot of like, it can be like you can say it's pure luck, but there's also thought towards it, right? It's a very tactical, two very tactical games,
Yeah.
and
So
FPL is a very tactical game as well, to be honest, I
yeah,
think.
poker is closer to FPL than chess because there's more luck involved. Chess has much more tactics. Uh, there's a reason why certain players always win because they have tactics. It's not always luck, but
Yeah,
it helps. It helps in comparing people.
100%. So before we, I guess, look at next week's fixtures in more detail, just wanted to talk to you about like how now that the season is, I guess, almost what, 3 months in or even more. We're in December now. The new season started September or end of August. I don't remember.
Honestly,
It's
somewhat
game week
because if
12, so
COVID
we're 3 months in.
happened,
three
yeah,
months in, let's just say, right? So there's certain approaches and tactics that are kind of appearing, like the top players, even in our local league and even like, more worldwide leagues. It's like you have one approach where it's like the Trinity approach. It's like Bruno, Salah, KDB, and most of those dudes play with two strikers instead of three. And then you have the Tottenham duo, Batman and Robin approach with like you definitely have to have Kane and Son, and then, there's people like Bamford who people pick who's doing well over a period of time. So like, and then is it like you pick Fardy or Calvert-Lewin? So like, what have you noticed in the general like season so far, like in terms of like the different kind of approaches, and what do you think? Do you think sticking with Son and Kane is the way to go? Or will their fixtures get difficult? Is it the Trinity approach? Because it's very interesting that some certain there's is definitely a pattern that some people are following this approach, and maybe even a third approach.
okay, that's a good question. It's a loaded question, but I like it because it tackles a lot of things I wanted to talk about.
Yep.
Um,
And we can mix that in with the upcoming fixtures too.
yeah, sure. So firstly, since it's 3 months in, that's enough time for you or me to know exactly who are the top players in the team or who are the top teams.
Yeah.
Um, you kind of know which players perform and their stats are no longer just sample stats. They had 3 months worth of games, so it's kind of the game is easy now for most people. It's just that if you've fallen behind, it's hard to catch up with people who already have those top players. So you have to take some risks. So there's still another 6 months to go. I mean, around 6 months to go. So first thing you do is you aim to get the top players, the best players in the team. You aim to make your team close to the teams that are in the top 10,000 in the world right now. So you bring in players like Bruno Fernandes, like Kevin De Bruyne, Salah. I know they're all expensive, but our team value has increased recently, and there is a way for you to bring them into your team. Just don't destroy your team. Just do it slowly. And the way, if you're behind those top 10,000, the way to um, cut in that rank and make it to the top 10K is to captain risky players.
Mm.
Not risky players. I mean, you captain a player that is not highly captained by everyone else. I
Yeah.
think that's my strategy because say say you have Salah, KDB, and Son, for example.
Yeah.
KDB is playing Fulham at home, Salah is playing Brighton at home, and then Son is playing Arsenal at home.
Mm.
You, you, I know this is in hindsight, but you go, you're like, you know what, I'm going to captain Son because no one's going to captain him. And it's a derby. Arsenal is not in form. They've been losing. Spurs is like high on form, and they're going to want to show they want to like win this derby. So you take that risk. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But in the meantime, if Salah scores a hat trick or KDB scores a hat trick, at least you have them in your team that you won't drop in the rankings. You didn't captain.
Yeah.
So now we can go on to the fixtures, and I can answer more of the questions you asked through the fixtures
Sure.
because there's a bunch that you can get into.
Sure.
So Leeds played West Ham first game. Yeah, like I said, Leeds honestly have been very impressive. Uh, their team is they just like to attack. They don't really like to defend. So That's good for fantasy managers because they know now not to pick their defense and to pick their attack.
Right.
Only guy I can think of is Bamford from their team. The other guys are all they keep rotating. So if you were to pick someone from Leeds, I would pick Bamford. And they play West Ham, and West Ham is kind of on form. They win some games, they lose, so they're kind of in the middle. So this game could go in favor of Leeds. So with West Ham, they have a bunch of hard fixtures to come now. I would avoid them just for the near one.
Okay.
Do you have anything to say about this team?
No, I think for Leeds, like you said, I think they're leaky at the back, but their attack is awesome, and Bamford has been a good pick. Like if you've had him from the beginning of the season, maybe you thought he was like a budget pick in the beginning. Like I think he's returned above his expectation. So and people have brought him in to reduce the budget so that they can bring in more expensive players. So I think you're right. Like Bamford is the guy to go for at Leeds, and I think you've started to like him as well. So you brought him in right a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, I like Bamford because he's in a team that attacks. They create a lot of chances for him, and any striker, any top striker, or any Premier League striker, can score at least 5 to 10 goals a season if they're given those chances. So
Yeah.
right now, Leeds they keep giving him chances to score, and they lost 3-1 to Chelsea, but he scored, and he got bonus points. So the game is about points. It's not about your team players winning. So
Yeah.
he's a really good pick. The next game is Wolves Villa. This is an interesting game because Wolves just lost to Liverpool 4-0, and Aston Villa they win and then they lose. They're kind of up and down, and they usually do well against the top teams.
Yeah.
Against the mid to low teams, they kind of struggle. I do have to say that Grealish is an awesome player. Like, forget
He's doing
fantasy.
well in all. He's doing well in all situations, like fantasy and in real life.
Exactly. So you see him defending, attacking, getting goals, putting himself in positions. His stats are good. He's
Yeah.
he's a season keeper. If you're gonna just stick to players, if you have that strategy, you stick to a player like Grealish because he's well valued and he'll get you assists or goals on a consistent basis.
Yeah,
Um,
he's been one person who's been in my team from the beginning. I think from game week or 1 or 2, he's been in my team. So like I was even thinking maybe of removing him, but I kept him. He's been a fantastic
yeah,
asset for me.
he's a great player. I think he's a season keeper. As for Wolves, first there's good news about Raul Jimenez, which is he's been discharged from the hospital.
That's good. Yeah.
We don't know what that means for his career, but I'm sure he'll be back in training soon. We'll find out. Um, so as for Wolves, in terms of the players that they have right now, their front three is very exciting. Although they lost to Liverpool, the game before that against Arsenal, they had Traore, Neto, and Podence up top. None of them
Yeah.
are actually strikers, but they're all kind of wingers. But they do this kind of false system where they keep rotating the central guy.
Yeah.
And each player, I think, is really good to own, except Traore because of his injury worries and his rotation. But I think, despite that, he still is a good player to own in that team. But if I were to pick one, it'd probably be Pedro Neto.
He's
Uh,
been doing well.
he's been doing really well there, as well as Podence. Like they're those three guys. Like if let's just see what Wolves fixtures look like because honestly they're a good pick. They have Chelsea next, and then Burnley and Spurs.
Spurs
Yeah, they have difficult than United. They have
and United.
difficult. So I would stay away from them, but just watch them. Keep them on your watch list because they're just three top players at the moment. And playing together, it's really nice to watch.
Yep.
Newcastle, West Brom.
So I
Uh,
have 2 questions for you for this team, actually, for both teams, actually.
go for it.
So, first question is Callum Wilson. He's been like an underrated striker. Like, not a lot of people I know who are talking about him. Like, but he's under the radar. He's getting points, man. His returns are really good. And I don't know how, but like Newcastle have been an okay team this season. I don't think they've been outstanding, but Wilson has been very consistent. And for West Brom, their keeper seems to be, I don't know if he's a lot, like he's been doing well recently. So first, your thoughts on Wilson, and then your thoughts on the West Brom keeper Johnson.
Okay, both players I would stay away from. This is it's kind of controversial. Not Johnston, which is West Brom's keeper. That guy I would stay away from because West Brom as a team is going to get relegated in my opinion, and
Okay.
he, like they're a better 4.5 goalkeepers to have. I don't know why you're not the first person to ask me that, day, or I've seen that. Like I've seen articles where they talk about this guy, but I really don't understand it. It's like a waste of a transfer. Like why even think about it? West Brom have a player called Gallagher. I don't know how much he is, but he scored like 3 weeks in a row, and he looks like he's their like hero of a player, like the guy that does
Mm,
everything.
right.
That's someone I would kind of, if you had to go for a risk or something, I'd go for him, depending on how much it costs, because I'm not really sure if he's cheap or not.
So your
Callum
keeper
Wilson,
picks, your keeper picks for this season would be either McCarthy and Martinez still.
like yeah, pretty much. I can't think
Okay.
of anyone else.
Okay.
Those two guys.
Considering the value.
Exactly.
All right.
If you want to spend on a keeper, which is not, I don't recommend it
Yeah.
because it comes back to that first thing where you don't put too much money on players that don't get you a high ceiling of points. Right?
Yeah.
You put it on, you put that money on Salah, KDB. Those are the guys that get you the points.
Gotcha.
Callum Wilson, uh, he's been amazing, consistently great. I think he's like probably like top scorer or second top scorer this season so far. But every season there's that player that overperforms,
Mm,
and he doesn't have that many chances. He's scoring every chance he gets, which is very impressive. But you know that always runs out.
mm,
Doesn't uh, it doesn't? It's not consistent. I'd rather have someone like Bamford who gets 3 chances and scores one, because it's just probability game. You know, you don't want to
of course.
place your bets on a guy who doesn't get that many chances, and people just score and look at his numbers and they're like, "Oh, he's playing West Brom. I want him." Look, he might score. I'm not saying he won't score, but I don't think he's a good season-long pick because it's just so like you might as well put your bets on someone who has better chances.
Gotcha.
I mean, this game could be a game where Wilson gets you points, but if you're thinking of just a 1 week punt, yeah, go for Wilson. I don't know. I wouldn't recommend him. Although he is a good player, I don't rate Newcastle as a team worthy of owning their players.
So just a preview of the end of the show. I have both Wilson and Johnson, which I
Oh, I mean, honestly, I would play both of them this week. I didn't know that you had Johnston. The fact that you have him, you might as well keep him because he's playing Newcastle. You could get a clean sheet, and the fact you have Wilson, he can score. So they're
yeah.
actually two good players this week. I would, if I was playing draft. So I don't know if you guys are aware of draft fantasy. It's the other feature of fantasy
Just
Premier
give
League.
them the
I
give
would
them
go for it.
give them the basics of it, I guess.
So basically, draft is like fantasy football, American version, where each team has their own player that they select. Uh, and if you have Aguero, no one else can have Aguero. It's like
Gotcha.
they go through a draft. So there's not that many players to pick from. So you go for anyone you can get. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So players like Wilson and Johnston are like very like, oh my god, I really want them when it comes to draft because you'd rather them than someone else. But when it
Yeah.
comes to fantasy Premier League, everyone can have the same players. Like I would stay away from those. Go for the top players.
Fair enough. What do you think about the Manchester Derby and Everton Chelsea? The Blues.
Honestly, those are very very difficult games to predict. United how they win. And
We're too inconsistent, bro. As a United fan, it's like you never know, man. Europe, they're like crashing, and then in the league, they're fourth or they're pushing top four. It's like they're too inconsistent, honestly. That's what I feel.
funny
But
because
Bruno is consistent. He's the only one who's consistent so far.
definitely. I've said it in the pods before, and I've even said it today. United can lose this game, but Bruno will score a penalty. He'll get you something. You know what I mean?
Fernandez.
Honestly, he's more than that, but like it's just amazing. Fernandez, he scores every penalty. Like it counts as much as the normal goal in fantasy Premier League. So
No, I
I'll,
swear, like I think if it was again in the previous match when he came on as a substitute, the creativity he brought to the game was outstanding. I think he had like 8 chances, or he created like 8 chances or something, potential chances. Like we joke about Fernandez, but like his creativity is amazing as a number 10.
it was a record high for 45 minutes of playtime.
Yeah.
It's the most anyone's ever done. That's really impressive. As for City, KDB, he always does well in derbies. He just does well in everything, guys. Superb.
He's picking up steam now.
Yeah, and City is also picking up steam, and I feel like their team is like motivated again.
Yeah.
It took them some time. And it looks like Guardiola might not rotate as much. He's really like I feel like he's really annoyed at certain players. So like last game, he didn't sub off anyone. It was like the first time ever in his career that he played his full 11 and no one was subbed off. So he likes his players that he's playing right now. I think he's going to stick with them for this game. This is a big game. So Mahrez, KDB, those guys.
So if you have Fernandez and KDB, obviously keep them both because anything could happen. Or would you say maybe like if you want to take your bets, make a bet on one player and free up someone else, maybe for a Spurs player or something like that?
No, don't. If you have them, keep them forever. Don't take them.
Yeah, again, because these are short-term questions, right? Like I know, like I'm purposely asking them, but these are very like, oh, this week it's the Manchester derby, so should I just take one off? It's like you always say, it's just 1 week this week. You have to look at it over the next 2 months, I guess. Yeah. And for Everton, Chelsea, sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, if you don't have them, you don't have to bring them in this week. You can wait one more week.
Yeah, fair enough. And that's good advice. And for Everton, Chelsea, again, I'll just pit the two main players, I guess. Not two main, but Everton definitely, Dominic Calvert-Lewin has dominated the season. He's been a great asset for many people, including myself. Chelsea is interesting because I remember asking you maybe in the last pod that I was on, what about Kurt Zouma, right? And you're like, yeah, maybe he's riding the wave. I'm not too sure, but he's still the number one defender in terms of points achieved in the FPL. So is it time to bring him in? Or do you still think that he's not a long-term pick, in your opinion? Because I still think he's number one in terms of most points. And he had a great week last week. Chilwell is there too. Chilwell is like a lot of people have Chilwell. Maybe he's more consistent, but Zouma is also up there.
Last week, Chelsea played Leeds. They won 3-1, and he blanked. He didn't get a clean sheet. And the week before,
I think he scored though last week.
Did he?
I think. Just check.
No, you're right. He scored.
Yeah, he scored.
And then the week before that, they got the clean sheet. Before that, clean sheet.
Clean sheet.
And they scored. No, he didn't score.
No.
Okay, so go back. So yeah, still, I wouldn't recommend it despite all that. And the reason why is because I don't know. I just it's again with defenders scoring. It's the same thing I have with players who are overperforming. Defenders score maximum 5 a season, But right backs and left backs can assist maximum 10 a season, which counts for more. So when you think about a defender, I always go for fullbacks, especially in today's system where fullbacks are like wingers.
Yeah, wingbacks. They're always up the pitch.
Yeah, so when it comes to Chelsea, I'd go for Chilwell or James. I wouldn't take Zouma just because, if anything, he finished his quota of goals for the whole season. Probability to speak,
Yeah.
Defenders don't score that much. It's just it's a thing of overperforming, in my opinion. And watch him score.
And what about the DCL?
yeah, DCL on like he's been playing superb, and Everton started off the season so well with Richarlison and James like creating so many chances, scoring. And, people thought they're going to win the league, and then that didn't happen. Uh, and then Calvert-Lewin kept performing despite them losing or drawing or James not playing well or Richarlison getting injured. Calvert-Lewin kept scoring, and I think ever since the other two guys stopped performing, Calvert-Lewin started overperforming. So I
Yeah,
feel like
maybe.
the theme of the podcast is all about overperformance, which people should look into. So I think Calvert-Lewin at the moment is overperforming, and he's getting goals in the last 2, 3 games over the confidence that he had in the beginning of the season. And I think the confidence as well as the luck is going to run out. And I wouldn't take him off because he's so highly owned, and he's the most owned player I think this year.
Yeah, I think
So
so. Or he's up there.
yeah, I would keep him until there's a better alternative, which I think there is. I wanted to get into that.
Okay.
Or
Who do you think
I
it
would
is?
injured. He's just off. Danny Ings, he's back from injury, and he has two great fixtures, which comes up to our next game, Southampton versus Sheffield, and then next
Okay.
week we have Arsenal versus Southampton.
That's a great fixture for Ings, bro, I think.
Honestly, like, I'm not trying to make fun.
Of course, we're never fun. We're always serious about Arsenal.
And then the week after that, he has City at home, which is also surprisingly a good fixture because they always perform against big teams at home.
And
And
Ings
Danny
always
Ings is not
scores, even if it'll be like a 3-1 scoreline. Ings might come up with the goal. There's a high chance.
he's a top player. And then the fixtures actually start getting good, which is Fulham away, and then West Ham at home, and then where is that?
Liverpool.
Liverpool. That's a tough game, but you know, it's not always exactly like the fixtures have to look very good for you to take them. You have to actually study the fixture.
Of
So when
course, yeah.
Son and Kane scored against Arsenal, like you think of them, oh, top fixture. It's going to be maybe a 1-0 or maybe a 1-1. But no, you know that Arsenal is not performing. You know the history of those games. You know that
Yeah, of course.
there is a chance they will perform well. So I think for Southampton, although they place Arsenal and City after Sheffield, I think it's still two great fixtures for him to perform.
Yeah. And apart from
Yeah.
that fixture, how are the rest of the Sunday fixtures looking for you? Anything out of the remaining four that we haven't discussed? Is there anything of note, something special we want to talk about? Anything that catches your eye, I guess?
Yeah, I wanted to get into Spurs. And, um, I wanted to get into Spurs because a lot of people now want Son and Kane after that performance against Arsenal, and I don't think anyone should be in a hurry to bring in those two guys. Just because, like, this is just my gut feeling, and also it's logic speaking. The way
Mm-hmm.
Mourinho plays is just very counter-attacking, and they had like 2 or 3 chances against Arsenal, and they took them. And it's not, and they like if Kane and Son were like cheaper, I would tell everyone to bring them in. But the fact that they're so expensive, you're gonna replace the players such as Vardy and Salah and Bruno and KDB. Those guys have better stats in terms of chance creations, in terms of XG, in terms of shots in the box, touches in the box, shots on target. Son
Yeah.
literally took one shot against Arsenal, which was a worldly goal, and he
Yeah.
scored. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
But it's blind FPL managers be like, oh my god, he's amazing. I want him. So that's my stats and logic speaking. My
Game
heart
of
tells me,
probabilities. Game of
yeah,
probabilities, like you said. Yeah.
but my heart says to keep them. I mean, I have them, so I'm not going to remove them. But if you don't have them, I don't want people to be in a hurry to bring them in. Bring in
Okay.
more important teams like KDB and Bruno, even Salah, those guys.
All right. And then the remaining others, Arsenal, I don't think we need to bring anyone in from Arsenal. I don't think so.
No, Arsenal, I'll bring in Bellerin because there's this new feature on FPL where every foul thrown you get 5 points.
Oh, shoot.
So
Okay.
he's doing well in that. Um,
Sorry, Arsenal
no,
fans, we do love you.
honestly, like they they had it coming for them. Like who? Why do they have Bellerin in this team? Like the guy has, I think, did 6 foul throws out of a total of 15 that happened in the Premier League season. Six out of those 15 was Bellerin. Like,
Wow.
does he not know the rules? You know what I mean? And then you have Xhaka just going, tackling everyone in front of it. It's just, I don't understand, Arsenal. Something has to happen. I think they need like a major physiotherapist, not physiotherapist, psychiatrist come and like talk to the players and find out what's going on. I don't even know. I don't think it's the manager anymore. Okay, enough about that.
Vardy, is he
Liverpool,
going to have a party?
yeah, this guy's always having parties. Although he performs better away, which you've seen this season,
Yeah,
like every away game, I think he scored,
yeah.
or like 90% of them. This is an easy home game against Brighton, but I think he'll score. Uh, I wouldn't captain him just because of that weird home disadvantage he's been having this season.
Right. And
But
Liverpool
other than that,
to end it.
yeah, Liverpool, you know, no need to speak about that. They'll probably win this game 3-0. Captain's.
How's Jota, man? He's been like I guess the last point I want to make on this week is Jota. Like, well, he's been a surprise come up, right, for Liverpool. Like, he was brought in as maybe as a support or maybe kind of like a backup, but because of injuries, he's become like a very good player for them. And for FPL players, like people who brought him in a few weeks ago have been have been benefiting from his inclusion in their teams.
Jota, like, wait because there's Champions League today. If he plays today, then I think he'll be rested against Fulham.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard because they're rotating between Jota and Firmino, I think, and Mane and Salah, all of them, those four guys. So
Yeah.
one of them will always be top. Less likely is Salah and Mane. So with Jota, just wait on today's fixture and then proceed. But honestly, if he keeps starting, amazing player. Play around 6.6 or something million,
Mm.
and plays for Liverpool and he scores every game. One of the best players this year. On the
Awesome. And I guess to wrap up the episode, let's call this the student-teacher corner session, therapy session between me and you. I wanted to just show you my team, or at least talk to you about it, and get your thoughts on what I should maybe do or not do. So I'll just go through my team for you, and then maybe you can give me some suggestions to hold, wait, bring someone in going forward. How about that?
So this is Yusuf's nice team. He took a minus 24, which is, you know what? Since he took that minus 24, I want to see if it was worth it. I'm going to show you the calculation. I'll start from up. So the players he took off were Martinez. Who else?
Foden,
Foden,
Son,
Son,
Werner,
Warner,
Kane,
Kane.
and Bissouma.
Okay, and the players you brought in.
Can you just go to my the next week on the graph?
You went a bit
Yeah.
crazy.
So I brought in Johnston,
Okay, Johnston,
Salah,
Salah,
Jota,
Jota,
De Bruyne,
yeah.
and Wilson and Davis. Wilson and Davis.
You brought in Wilson,
Yeah,
but he doesn't play.
I know.
Okay, okay. Davis, who's Davis?
Davis from I think Aston Villa. Yeah,
Basically,
I bought the cheapest striker I could find. Basically,
okay. So you took minus 24. And this guy, projected points. So this is now I'm going to put the projected points next to each player's name. Martinez is 0 because he's going to play that week. So it's good to take him off. Foden, I would say he's playing Fulham at home. He might not start. He might start. I would say 2 points. So it's good to take him off. Son, he's playing Arsenal, and I actually expected him to score. But I would say the most he would have gotten was an assist, which is 5. Warner playing Chelsea at home, assist as well, I think, 5. Kane, I think he would have scored against Arsenal because he always scores in every Arsenal fixture. 6.
Yeah.
Bissouma always going to get 2 points because he's a defensive player. So if you add that up, it's 2 plus 5, 7, 12, 18, 20 points. So this is what the team that the players took off would have gotten you 20 points. And then, I'm going to remove this, I'll show it to you later. These are the players you brought in. So Johnston, who's West Brom playing this week? It's here. They're playing Crystal Palace at home. Okay, not bad. Like I would have expected, honestly, I would have still done. I don't think he would have gotten a clean sheet. So I've said the most is 3 points for him. Allah is good. I expect him to get 10 points, goal and assist.
Yeah.
Jota, I would expect him to get 6-pointer, which is a goal maybe or
assist or maybe. Yeah.
KDB, I think I would have put him was 10 goal and assist. Wilson 0. The guy's not playing. That was a bad move.
Yep.
You don't bring him.
Was
actually not playing. Davies does not play as well. That's 0. So if you add that up, 13, 19, 29 points. And then minus 24. 29 minus 24 is 5. So that's a positive number. It's I'm going to give it green, which means good to go. You can do that. Minus 24.
So you're saying what I did was actually beneficial to a certain extent, or like it wasn't? Or no?
No, it was bad. I'll tell you why it's bad. Because you got these 2 guys. Like you could have done without these 2 guys and gotten the rest of these, or somehow found a way. But if this was the only way, like if getting these 2 guys was the only way for you to get these 3, then it's a good move. But honestly, it's not good because you brought in Wilson, who's expensive and doesn't play. You could have gotten someone else cheaper, and this guy doesn't play. But the rest were good moves. It's good to bring them in. But you took off players like Son and Kane, who I thought would have done well. Warner, who actually did get an assist. So, I mean, you could have done much better moves and gotten like a plus 10 or a plus 12. But you ended up getting a plus. So, you beat the transfer. You beat the minus 24 transfer hit, but there was so much more potential.
Got you. That makes sense. And note to self, I should not make changes at 7 a.m. when I'm half asleep as well, because of the deadline that's coming when I'm like half sleepy.
Oh, yeah. So that's always take your time and have a cup, have your breakfast. I mean, you don't have to. It's a fun game. You can do it when you're half asleep. No one's telling you not to. But if you want to take it seriously and like compete, then have that coffee before you.
Of course. And I think this is a great thing that we can actually look at and maybe expound more, looking at the more statistical side of the game and doing these calculations and seeing like based on predictions, based on fixtures, maybe combine it with a gut feeling and come up with some sort of, not a formula, but just an approach, like how to mathematically improve yourself in this game. Because there are ways. It's not just gut, it's not just pure luck. 100%. You can tell.
If we just before we end it, we can go with the captaincy pick.
Yeah.
Is there anyone that you're who are you picking? Not from your team, but like the team will perform.
I think generally speaking, Salah is a good pick because you never know if the Manchester derby is a stalemate, then you've lost the pick. So like probability, maybe I would say Salah, followed by maybe not a wild card or a differential pick, but perhaps Vardy would be a good captaincy pick against Brighton. Maybe, like if you want to push your luck. But I would say Salah is the safe bet for me.
I agree with you, Salah, number 1. And I wouldn't think of anyone else.
Just Salah, right? I
mean, wait for tonight's game. If Salah is rested tonight for Liverpool, and he's going to be healthy and be able to play this week, I would go for Salah.
Great. So I think that wraps it up for us this week. TK, thank you for spending your time with us and guiding us through your wisdom towards another successful week, hopefully, in the coming week. And we will see you next week, and we will see how everything went down in this upcoming game week and do this again. So thanks for coming on, man. Really appreciate it.